What if? The two biggest words in the dictionary. I'm going to talk to you about the two biggest what ifs for Colorado football and Deion Sanders heading into the 2023 season on today's episode of Locked On Buffs.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? This is Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode, we got a good one ahead of us. We're going to be talking about the two biggest what ifs around Colorado football, the good one and the bad one. We're going to talk about the record projection by a good friend of the show, Raymond Lucas Jr. over at 24/7. And then we're going to talk about my company, Athlon Sports, is Pac-12 predictions and where Colorado ended up in those. But before we do, I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Buffs your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, your team every day. That's how we do it. Okay, let's dive right in. I was thinking about the two biggest what ifs for Colorado, and I think a lot of people like to point out the transfer one, which I talked about a few days ago, but I don't think that's it. I think that obviously, because let me give you some details if you're not following. There was an episode of Late Kick with Josh Pate, and they were asking, what if Colorado's transfers all succeed or all hit or whatever, something like that. And obviously that's a good thing. That means Colorado's probably going to win games. And like I said, I think they need, because they brought in 51, I think they need at least 30 of them to be like legitimate starters, contributors, if not 35 to 40. Your pretty much entire two deep is transfers. So you need everybody to be good at pretty much every position. And I think that's more doable than people realize, because they brought in so many that by the process of elimination or the process of being theoretical, I guess, they just have to be, someone has to be good. Like for safety, for example, they brought in 6 starting caliber safeties. You're telling me of those 6 that none of them are going to be good? I think it just comes down to math. I think they've brought in so much talent that eventually they're going to find guys that are good. It'll on the defense and offensive line, it will be a little more difficult to see that. But my biggest what if, and this is more of a positive one, is what if Shedeur Sanders has no learning curve? So I think a lot of the questions around Colorado's offense, for those that aren't like super dialed into the program, those that aren't like watching out for like reading the reports or talking to people, like I'm talking to Colorado people pretty much whenever I can. I'm trying to find out what's going on over there because I'm in California, so I have someone on the ground. I got to make sure I have someone giving me updates just in case I miss something. I got my sources, and there's always question about the offensive line, the defense line, but the national media, if you will, which I'm the national media, but the national media that don't have a focus on Colorado, their biggest question is Shedeur Sanders. What if he is like their biggest question is whether or not he's going to be able to succeed right away at the Power 5 level. And yes, we all know he succeeded at the FCS level at Jackson State, but so did Cam Ward at Incarnate Word. He was literally the best. He had the best stats in all the country. We've seen guys who go from the Power 5 level to the FCS level and have more success than they did at the Power 5 level. Shedeur Sanders, very polished arm, very polished quarterback. I think he has an easier chance to adjust to the Power 5 just because, one, he doesn't play like a quarterback who, outside of making a few risky throws, because I think any quarterback with a strong arm is prone to doing that. He doesn't play a style of football where it's like, oh, that's not going to translate, because he works the offense. He hits receivers in stride. He hits open receivers. He kind of throws into windows where only his receiver will get it. Cam Ward, one of his biggest issues was at Incarnate Word, he was able to run around, do a few 360s, a backflip, a little twirl, and still get the ball out. Where at Washington State, obviously the pass rush against Washington State, is a lot different. These Pac-12 defenders, Big 10, because Colorado, Big 12 too, because Colorado's going to play a couple teams in there. They're going to have better defenses. They're going to have better defenses than what they faced at the FCS level. It's just a fact. the Pac-12, especially Colorado. They have Oregon State and Utah, who are two of the best defenses in the country on the schedule. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge. But if Shedeur Sanders doesn't have that learning curve where he's like, I won't say bad, but say he struggles for a few weeks, Colorado should be out the gates hot. They might upset a team or two. I did their record prediction yesterday. I had them at 6-6. If Shedeur Sanders comes in right away as Deion, just boom, 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 just hits open receivers, no turnovers. No turnovers is the big one, leading to touchdowns, drives leading to touchdowns. Colorado could very well start out of the gates 3-0. Who care? Like, I won't say who cares what happened with the Oregon USC back-to-back week. But that's a tough week. But then they go to Stanford. I believe they have Stanford or Arizona State after that. For 4-2 by October or by the middle of October, that'd be huge for Colorado. That would be massive because they have other winnable games. They could end up winning 7-8 games. So Shedeur Sanders is, and this is my what if for him. What if Shedeur Sanders doesn't have that learning curve? Colorado should be hot right out of the gates, and they should be, and they probably will be a top 25 team by, like, let's say week 6. Obviously, I don't know if they're going to continue to be a top 25 team because you got to see how they perform the rest of the way out. But that's my what if on the positive side. My what if on the negative side. So what if? Let me soak this one in a little bit because I don't want to talk about the transfers not working out. But this is kind of along those lines. What if Colorado's defense just never quite clicks? I think I've talked about the offensive line a lot. You guys know my concern with the offensive line, so I'm not going to beat that horse anymore. But the defense, they have a lot of talented players. They have a lot of good players everywhere. But what if it's just not, something doesn't click? I think the Pac-12 is the worst conference to not have your defense click, especially this year. You got Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, Cam Rising, DJ Uyunglele, Jaden DeLora at Arizona, who I had a Pac-12 coach tell me yesterday, he's probably the most underrated quarterback in the conference. So very underrated quarterback there. The quarterback plays elite. They got good receivers. They got good running games. And so the last thing you want to do is not have your defense click. So what if Colorado's defense struggles? What if they don't click? Well, it's going to be tough for Colorado. I think their offense is going to be able to put up points, but if their defense is giving up just as many, that puts a lot of pressure on the offense. And there's not really, I mean, there has been, like, Oklahoma offenses were historically great, and then their defense were historically bad. Does Colorado have an Oklahoma caliber offense in year one? I don't know about that. That's pretty high praise. That means they have two Heisman winners and a Heisman finalist at quarterback. They got all the award winners just everywhere, all over the offense. I think the defense has the playmakers, but if they're not good, I won't say if they're not good. If they don't have success, if they struggle, that can make Colorado's life a little bit harder. So those are my two biggest what ifs. But on the contrary, if Colorado's defense is stout and one of the more underrated defenses, Colorado, 8-9 wins maybe. If you got a stout defense that can kind of contain all these crazy quarterbacks, all these talented quarterbacks, that just makes your life easier for everything else. Takes all the pressure off the offense and stuff. So those are my two biggest what ifs. What are your biggest what ifs? Tell me in the comments below. Let me know. This episode today and pretty much every day, it's brought to you by FanDuel. Take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet and bonus bets up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets. Win or lose, that's $200 you could spend betting on everything from the money line to over-under to who you think is going to hit the first home run. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you can get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, the official partner of Major League Baseball. Okay, let's dive right back in. Good friend of the show, Raymond Lucas Jr. has come on the show, I think, a couple times. We need to have him on soon so we could discuss this. He wrote a nice breakdown of every Pac-12 team's record. He kind of went through every game that he thinks they'll win and every game that they'll lose. And he has them going 5-7, So, I mean, 4 more wins than last year, much improved. Obviously, obviously that'd be a huge upgrade, but I think the losses is where we disagree. There's a couple games on or a couple losses on here where I think this can easily make this 7-5 or 6-6, like I said yesterday. So let's go through the wins first. Colorado State at Arizona State versus Stanford at UCLA versus Arizona. Losses at TCU versus Nebraska, at Oregon versus USC, Oregon State, at Washington State, and then Utah. So according to Raymond, that would mean they are starting 0-2, and then by the end of or by the beginning of October, they'll be 1 and let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1-4. That would be tough start. I'm not gonna lie to you. That would take a lot of the wind out of the sails. 1-4. I think that'd be a tough draw. I think they need to at least win 2 out of their first 3 games. I think they got to beat Colorado State. That's like the only gimme on the schedule. And even then, a lot of people around me are telling me that Colorado State's not going to be a gimme like they normally would be. They're improved. We'll see. They should be a gimme, but they need to beat TCU or Nebraska. It doesn't matter which one. Nebraska would be cool. TCU would be cool. Either way, they're both going to be nationally televised. They're going to both have all eyes on them. So that's a tough start. If they go 1-4 to start the season, the confidence around the program might dwindle. This is what he said, though. Colorado's 2023 schedule remains daunting, just not as much as it was a couple months ago. Their portal haul consists of players that should get the program back to a bowl game after last season's disaster of a campaign, or could get it. Suddenly, there are winnable games, and the ability to do so on the hinges on the impact of Shedeur Sanders, like I talked about earlier, and Travis Hunter. Granted, it's a team sport. Excelling is tough when your best players aren't performing like stars, though. Colorado opens the season against TCU Nebraska, 2 very tough games. If able to start 2-0, Colorado will flirt with 6 or 7 wins. See, that's what I said too. Perhaps more if other Pac-12 teams take a step backwards. The eye-catching pick will be the win over UCLA, which is tasked with replacing major losses. It'll either start a true freshman in Dante Moore or Colin Schlee, who threw 13 touchdowns and 5 picks at Kent State last season, under offensive coordinator Sean Lewis, who's on Colorado State staff. So it's safe to assume he knows Colin Schlee's limitations. Great point right there. I think if Colin Schlee's the starter, if Sean Lewis isn't dishing out all the information that he knows, get him out. No, I'm just kidding. I think he'll be like, this is what he can't handle. This is what he struggles with. And that's what Colorado needs. That's what they need. Realistically, I think this is a tough prediction because it has them starting 1-4. If Colorado starts the season 1-4, I think a lot of momentum could be lost recruiting wise. We're a what can you do for me now type of society. And so if college recruits who are all on these visits at these big games, they see Colorado lose and the appeal doesn't look as good, maybe they get blown out a couple times and it's like, oh, maybe this isn't going to work. Obviously, I think recruits know that Coach Prime has a vision, and I think that they know that they'd have to be a part of that vision to make it succeed. But like we talked about with Brian Smith, our recruiting expert over here at Locked On, he said that recruits want to see the on-field product, and they want to see a successful on-field product because no recruit wants to go to a school and be a part of a rebuilding stage and then hurt their chances to go to the league or something like that. Obviously, the transfer portal makes it easier to get out and go elsewhere if things aren't working well. But you just don't want Colorado to start 1-4. That'd be a tough draw. I think the ideal first 5 weeks for Colorado, they're 3-2, maybe 4-1 if they steal one away from Oregon or USC. I don't know, but I just feel like that they can't have that draw. They cannot go 1-4. That would be detrimental to the entire season, and I would honestly be quite concerned with the rest of the season. I think it could lead to some loss of confidence. Maybe fans start to turn too quickly because as soon as Colorado loses, the entire country is going to be like, oh, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders can't coach, doesn't know what he's doing. Oh, his transfer portal method's breaking. And then other coaches are going to start throwing shade because obviously they've been very adamant that they don't want this to work at all. So I think that'd be a worst case scenario. That's the worst thing that could happen to this Colorado team. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. By the way, I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Buffs your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to like, subscribe, share. Every day is tomorrow. You guys know I'm doing mailbag questions. So I need some people to put some questions in the comment section so I could answer whatever you have to say, answer whatever you got to discuss. It could be about football, college football, about Colorado, anything else. Just let me know. I got life advice, whatever it is. I got you. Okay. But back to it. Yeah, they can't start like that. That'd be horrendous. I think that's the worst case scenario for the season, because if they start 1-4, who knows what kind of snowball effect that would have on the rest of the season. So we'll just have to wait and see. When we come back from the break, where's Colorado projected to finish in the Pac-12? According to my company, Athlon Sports. I'll talk to you guys about that when we come back. Welcome back. We're talking about where Colorado's projected to finish in the Pac-12. My company over at Athlon, good fellow, I believe, by the name of Nick Schultz, wrote the Pac-12 order. Oh, wait, no, that's not Nick Schultz. That's the guy that wrote about Nick Schultz. Pac-12 predictions. Here we go. Oof. And you guys aren't going to like this, but so we'll go top to bottom. So that way, I guess you guys can see where we end up. USC number 1, they have them going 12-1. Washington 10-3. Oof. So steep fall off right there. Utah, who would be looking to three-peat as Pac-12 champions, they're spot number 3 at 9-3. Oregon, who is hoping to kind of emerge and win the Pac-12 and maybe make the playoff, 9-3. Oregon State 8-4. I think they're one of my not playoff teams, my Pac-12 championship teams. So that's not good. UCLA 8-4. Obviously, they're counting on a good quarterback situation regardless of who's there. Then we got Washington State at 6-6, Arizona at 6-6, Cal at 5-7, Colorado. Woof is absolutely right. Can I get a woof in all caps in the comments for this? 4-8. 3-6 in conference play. Only teams worse than them: Arizona State at 4-8, Stanford at 3-9. See, I think if Colorado's 4-8, that means they went 1-4 to start the season. Let's call a spade a spade. Realistically, let's see. Did he say anything about it? No. Yeah, no. If he says anything, I mean, like I'm saying, I lost my train of thought there. If Colorado starts the season 1-4, this is how their record's going to end up: 4-8. If they start 4-2, I think that better projects them to end up at 6-6, 7-6, whatever it may be. But 4-8 means it went bad. It went bad fast. That means Shedeur Sanders maybe struggles. That means maybe the offensive line can't block for Shedeur and their good running backs and give Shedeur time to throw to the great receivers. It means the defense got torched. I think. Or maybe they just lose close games. I don't know. But you definitely don't want to start 1-4 because, like I said, it's a snowball effect. This is exactly what the snowball effect would be. 4-8 is not where you want to be. I would say the biggest surprise for me in this ranking is probably Utah being 3rd. I feel like there's going to be a little decline in Utah. I'm also shocked that they have Washington. I guess it's not we because I didn't contribute to this, so it's not me. They have Washington going 10-3, so that means that the Pac-12 is legitimately going to have one playoff contender. In my head, 2 Pac-12 teams are going to go head to head with every single team they play. They're going to be either 10-0 or 11-0. Well, I mean, I'm just saying. I figured they'd be undefeated or have one loss in the Pac-12 championship. And the loss would be against the other team that they're playing. So that way, if they win, they could get into the playoff. Or if the other team wins, that means they beat them twice, so you get in the playoff. I thought the Pac-12 would have at least 2 chances to make the playoff. I don't think they'll ever get 2 teams into the playoff because that's just not how it works for the Pac-12. That's more of an SEC Big Ten thing. But I'm a little surprised to see that. UCLA, they're very high on them. I question their quarterbacks. I do. Colin Schley at Kent State, he was all right. Wasn't special. Dante Moore, true freshman. Don't know how he'll be. But I like Arizona at 6-6. I do. I think they're trending towards a bowl game, and I think that's a good thing for this program. all the 3 new coaches in the Pac-12 all finished 10th through 12th. So obviously this is like the worst year, not really the worst year. You can't really control this. I mean, their old coaches probably would have been just as bad. But all the new coaches are projected to struggle, which makes it a little tougher on these programs that are hoping to start off with a bang, maybe start off with a cool record, good record year one. It doesn't appear to be happening for those in the Pac-12, so that'll be interesting. Obviously, we got to hold these guys accountable. Hold me accountable. I said 6-6, so if I'm right, I expect my flowers. If I'm wrong, you can roast me in the comments. I don't care. But I do care is that you guys are always here with me along for the journey. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making Locked On Buffs your first listen. We got some great guests coming up, and I wouldn't want you guys to miss it. A lot of guests next week, so don't miss that. Locked On Buffs presented to you by the Locked On Network, your podcast every day, your team every day. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I'm Kevin Borma. Make sure to subscribe, follow me along on Twitter and Instagram, wherever you guys want to follow me. So that way we could go on this journey together. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Have a great Thursday.